Let's add a point layer and look at some of the attribute properties and methods for display. So we have our roads on Alaska here, and let's add the airports. So airports would be here under the sample data. Okay, so we've got some airports on here, and I'd like to add a little bit more information. So what we'd like to try to do is to show which of these airports is substantially higher in elevation. So if we look at the attribute table, this is the information we have for each airport. We have their name, we have the use of the airport, and what its elevation is. So we do have some information as to how high they go. So to then look at the properties, go to the style of showing what the marker is, and instead of a single symbol, we'll use graduated symbols. And we can change the symbol itself to, instead of being a marker here, to be a graphic. And we can select different type of graphics. So let's take the one that looks like an airplane. I believe we want to make this fairly small. Clicking on the color itself, we'll turn these into red airplanes. And we'll scale these under the advanced area. We'll scale them with elevation. And we do need to classify. Okay, so we're setting this up such that the marker is a SVG marker, and we can change its characteristics. We have a red airplane. We've selected that the elevation will be determining its size. So you can see it's a little bit much. Let's leave that alone just for a second. And you can see that as we zoom in, it's not so bad. But as we zoom out, the airports take over. So that would be kind of poor styling. A couple things we could do is to make this smaller to begin with. So now it's not so bad at this scale. And let's look at it down at our area of interest. So it may be a little bit small there as well. Now to solve the problem, we could go to rule-based so that the airports don't show up when you get too large. We'll consider that in a bit. Well, we'll go back and change this up. We've made them just a little bigger. This is our area of interest. Now this is what happens is the size of the airplane relates to the elevation. So that's maybe something that we isn't quite the way we want to display that, but for this example, it gives you an idea that you can use different size symbols to represent some of the information we have an interest of. Placing some labels on these so we can get an idea of what airport is which one. Go to the labeling area, and we'll label this layer with the name. And placing it here, you can, placing the label, it's around the point. So let's see how that works in this small area here. So you can see there's some overlap, and actually the name becomes written on top of the symbol. So that's not really all that good. So let's move this a little bit away, and let's move it even a little bit more. So now we're moving these guys a little bit further away, separating them so that it's a little bit more readable. And again, we could put a buffer around these so that it gives them some contrast with the map itself. And in terms of when are they registered, we could adjust this such that we don't want to see them if it's above. And correspondingly, we might want the airports themselves to drop off at that. Right, so we have airports, and the size of the symbol tells us the elevation or gives us an idea, doesn't give us specifically. And our labeling is working quite nicely here. Now, one further problem we may have, though, is that as we get further away, these airports may just become a little too obtrusive and just to overtake things. So we may want to shut this entire layer off once we get to a certain scale. Recall, if we get in here close enough, we have it set so that the labels are shut off at a particular point, but maybe we go one step further and we'd like the layer to actually to shut itself off. So what we can do is to copy the scale. So I'm just going to Control C, copy that particular scale, and go back to the properties here. And in general, click on visibility, and we can just highlight that and Control V. Or we could click current and it gets it there just as well. So we apply that. So now if we get a little smaller, the airports disappear. We get a little bigger, the airports are there, and we can see which airports have high elevation, which is low, and then as we get even a little closer, we get the names of these airports to show up. Okay, so another aspect that we might want to do is to actually classify these instead of their elevation, but to understand that, you know, perhaps some of these may be military airports and some may be private. So we'll go back and look at a ways to set that up. So under the style here, we're going to go from graduated to categorized, and we're going to categorize these in terms of their usage. We'll classify, and by selecting classify, it goes through and picks them for us here, and we may want to just delete one here. We'll change the label again to have as a marker. We'll change them back to our red airplanes. If you notice, I've changed that one particular marker. I haven't changed the rest of them. So military, here we could change these one at a time. So you could change its size as well too. So this could be the military ones I really want to stand out as larger. And while I'm highlighting on here, I'll go to change. Okay, so we have joint military, military, and then public airlines. So I'm going to click on that one particularly and change it to its marker. And we'll change that one to yet a different color. And change its size. We can change its size here. In fact, we could change its rotation as well. Okay, so now we have a scenario where we've got different sizes and different colors for the different characteristics.